I've tended to focus on conceptual issues in my screencasts, and I've focused on some of the technical and practical aspects of the course in our class sessions. But it occurs to me, especially with elasticity, that a bit of advanced instruction on the technical aspects of working with elasticity might help some or all of you, hopefully all of you. So what I'm going to do here is just walk you through a calculation of elasticity, and they all pretty much are similar to this exercise. So I've got an example, just totally made up numbers based on a hypothetical change in the price of a round of golf, a weekday round of golf at Forest Hills Golf Course, located just south of town here, southeast of Forest Groves, just south of Cornelius. So let's go ahead and launch into that. I guess I'll write my example here. I've got a situation, I've totally made it up, where I've supposed initially the weekday price of a round, this is Monday through Thursday. Typically prices are low because everybody's got to work, and so they try to attract senior citizens and other people that might have a day off with lower prices on weekdays. So let's suppose that they charge $20 for an 18-hole round of golf. I haven't golfed out there in years, so probably this is just wildly off reality, but doesn't matter. For our purposes, I'm making this up and it's going to work. And let's say they offer 768 rounds, weekday rounds, per week. So that's our example, dollars per round. And then price is going to go up. I'm scrunching myself out of space. Let's give an example. Let's say they need to increase revenues and they just decide to try to increase revenues by trying to raise price 10% to $22 per round. But as a result, the quantity demanded, there's a lot of golf courses around here. Quantity demanded, let's suppose, just falls to 650 rounds per week. And I'm making these numbers up, but it's just an example. All right, well, let's do some calculations with those numbers. So again, this is our example. All right, so here we are in our blank page to start working with this stuff. And remember, we've got this example where our initial price was $20. Our initial quantity was 768. I'm not worrying about units right now. And then price went up to 22, and quantity demanded went down to 650. All right, well, let's start calculating. Remember that the formula for the elasticity of demand, I've got it as the easiest way is percent change in quantity demanded, and I prefer thinking about proportions. I'll show you why in a second. And how do we calculate a percent? Well, let's just take the numerator. I think you all know how to calculate a percent change in something, and taking the ratio of 2% changes hopefully isn't that hard. By the way, I suppose this is a good enough time to announce or remind you of my calculator policy. You'll want one on the next quiz on Thursday. Everybody is allowed to use a calculator, not a phone calculator, but a real calculator. But everybody can use their own calculator. No calculator sharing. It's just too easy to pass back and forth a calculator with the right answer. Even accidentally, someone would find that fairly easy to do, like me. That'd be the kind of bonehead mistake I'd be capable of in a pressure situation. So anyway, you use your own, or if you have it set up properly and don't have a calculator, just leave it at that. And I give full credit for answers that are set up properly. Although if you start reducing a fraction and you make a mistake, well, then you lose some credit. It's like Jeopardy. If you answer who's the President of the United States, who was the first President of the United States, if you answered Washington, you'd get the credit. But if you answered Albert Washington, you'd not, because it's George Washington. So careful about specifying wrongly. All right, here we go. Well, remember, percent change, we just take the incremental change. So in quantity demanded, so quantity was 768 and it fell to 650. So our incremental change is just 650 minus 768. Clearly that's going to be a negative number. And then we divide it by the level and we just use the initial level, 768. You'll see this is a fraction few of us can do in our head. And then the price, the incremental change in price is 22 minus 20, and then the initial level of price is 20. Oh, and I've got it as percent change, so we multiply both the numerator by 100 to get the percentage change in quantity demanded, and we'd multiply the denominator by 100 to get the percentage change in price. And you see why I prefer proportions. Those, 100 over 100 is 1, so it just works out to be the same as the proportionate changes. All right, well, let's reduce things a little bit to make it easier to plug into our calculator. Notice that quantity demanded has fallen by 118 rounds per week. We divide through by the 768 number of rounds we started with, and we take that fraction and divide through by the incremental change in price. It's positive 2. Keep track of changes. Keep track of signs here. Over 20. And then if we plug those numbers into our calculator, I recommend doing that just to make sure if you've made a simple calculator error, it's easier to uncover if you write out every step. 0.1536, just rounding to just 4 digits. That's probably 2 digits more than I need technically, but we'll leave it at that. And then divided by 0.1, which of course is negative 1.536. And if you just said, that's 1.5, negative 1.54, that'd be close enough. 2 digits is what we go, what generally I think is enough. Remember we talked about the revenue effect of a change in price and quantity. Let's go through those numbers just to verify. Notice we have an elastic demand here. In absolute value, our price elasticity of demand is greater than 1. And so the quantity change is bigger than the price change in proportionate terms. We predict that revenue would fall. And let's just double check that's easy enough to do. So let's calculate that revenue change. Remember that initially, total revenue is the initial total revenue is the initial price times the initial quantity. That's equal to 20 times 768, and that equals, I've got my little calculator here, 15,360. This is dollars per week. I'll leave you to do the unit check on your own. And then we predict a fall, so let's just verify. Total revenue at the new price and quantity, 22 times 650. This is a little easier to do things if you're doing it in your head, but I nevertheless used a calculator to get new total revenues of 14,300 per week, from sales of weekly rounds of Monday through Thursday rounds of golf. All right, well, there we have it. Hope that helps.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.